name is Cornell Green, and I am the failure guy. Welcome to the podcast. Today's guest on the inaugural episode of Season 3 of the Failure Guy podcast is Lashawn Suga Ray Marston, and it is my pleasure to welcome him. He is an artist, an activist, an educator, and a humanitarian, and it is my pleasure to welcome him to Season 3 of the Failure Guy podcast. Lashawn, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Brother Cornell Green. I'm really grateful. I appreciate you for having me. It was an honor to meet you a few weeks ago, talking about your podcast. I love it. I love the concept. I love the acronym. And really excited to have this conversation with you today, my brother. Thank you.
Okay. You're certainly so welcome. Now, of course, I always like to start with my guests letting the people out there in podcast land know a little bit about themselves. So what would you like to share right off the bat about yourself before we get into the conversation?
Oh, man. I'd like to share. I mean, I'm just a brother, man. Just a brother here committed to, using all of my gifts, all of my skills, all of my talents, executing on as many ideas as possible. Knowing that, we have too many ideas to execute all of them in our lifetime. Even if we live to be 120, we'll have more ideas, right? So just pushing myself, man, to live full so I can die empty.
Okay.
I'm just grateful for life.
So what are some of the things that you're up and about? And it's interesting, you say that reminds me of the George Bernard Shaw quote, I want to live my life fully used up.
Yep.
And I like that. So you say that you have a lot of skills. Just give us an idea of what some of those skills and abilities are.
Oh, man. I am a writer. I've been writing poetry and stories since I was like 4 years old. Published some books. I've written some films. Writer, actor, director, communicator, obviously, right, with those things. Filmmaker, photographer. So many things, man. Certified therapeutic art coach, right? Grief support coach, mental health first aid certified. So many, man.
Okay. Now that's something interesting. See, this is why I love, and I learned this years ago, that I don't do a pre-interview, because I like everything to be to come to me new and exciting, as it's going to come to the people out there in podcast land. And also, I had an interview with my very first business coach, who I had the pleasure of catching up with. I've been an independent entrepreneur since 2010, so
Nice.
This is my 15th year, and she was the very first course I took when I had to go independent. Was something with NYC Business Solutions. Back in the Bloomberg administration, they started offering free entrepreneurial training. This was right after the subprime mortgage meltdown. The economy was spiraling down. Everyone was afraid, it was going to be possibly a depression. And I lost my last full-time job because of it. I was working as IT manager for an architectural design firm. And of course, when the global real estate market crashes, I don't care how cool your design game is on, when there's no building to design, it's kind of hard to keep making payroll. And this was a 4-week course, 2 full days every week. It was really intensive, and she gave a lot of insights and a lot of wisdom, and we've been in touch ever since. And in 2016, when I published my first book, and right before I went to France to speak at a 2-day lecture series at the stadium, in fact, that the last Olympics, the Summer Olympics were held last year, the Stade de France, we had an interview on her Blog Talk Radio program. Problem was, we had a pre-interview conversation of about 20 minutes. That was the fire.
Yeah.
Then we turned the camera on, and we'd already talked it all out.
Yeah.
So the inspiration and the vitality wasn't there. But you mentioned several certifications that you have. So first of all, tell us what those are again, and tell us what do you have to do in order to get those certifications?
So mental health first aid certified. Just I think it was like a 10-hour, 12-hour, like a 2-day weekend course with I can't even remember what the organization was. I think, is it New York City Health and Hospitals? I think New York City Health and Hospitals did that. Been doing that for a couple of years. Certified therapeutic art coach, right? Did that a couple of years ago with I forgot the program. I've done so much, man, but I
Right.
forgot the exact.
Okay, now that to me is fascinating.
Mhm.
Therapeutic art coach, because
Yes, sir.
I've been doing technology for the past 32 years, but that's only half my life. I'm 64 years old, and in a former life, I was a musician, once and
Okay.
future life. I'm a bass
Mhm.
player, guitar player, and interestingly enough, I recently went on Amazon and
Mhm.
got into one of my hobbies from back in the day, and I bought a set of seven harmonicas. I used to blow a
Okay.
pretty mean blues harp back in the day, and I'm looking to
Nice.
scrape the rust off my knuckles and
Come on, brother.
brush
Let's
off the
go.
cobwebs and get back into it. But an art coach, a certified art was a certified art therapist.
Yeah,
Okay,
therapeutic art coach.
therapeutic art coach.
Yes,
Say
sir.
more about that. What does that entail, and what have you done with that certification since you got it?
Yeah, I mean, so I got the certification because I realized that I've always used art as a form of therapy, right, for myself, and I've always encouraged others to do so, whether it's writing poetry, whether it's simply drawing circles, right, whether it's drawing mandalas, whether it's drawing shapes, right, whether it's coloring, whether it's dancing, right. I've always used art as a form of therapy, like I said, for myself, dealing with grief and trauma, and I've always encouraged and coached others to do the same, and so prior to getting a certification, I was already doing it, right? And I was like, I came across a course and it was like, okay, this is in alignment with where I am and where I want to go with my life, with my company. Um, and yeah, and that was like, I think like a week worth of training courses, bunch of reading, bunch of videos to watch, bunch of talking, right? Bunch of practice. But again, I'm grateful because I was already doing it, and I
Right,
already took
right.
psychology as a youth. Even before
Okay,
going to college, I was always been into psychology, right? Understanding
okay,
the connection
okay.
between the mind and behavior, thoughts and behavior, feelings, and things like that. And so, what I've done with it is just deepen my practice. I run a grief group.
Ah,
Every Thursday in Queensbridge, and in
okay.
that, right, part of that is obviously different times using different art modalities for to get people to go deeper into their grief or to even identify that they're having grief. Right, some people don't
Okay.
even know that they are grieving. Right? A lot of
Hmm.
times grief shows up as
Hmm.
anger, it shows up as
Okay.
frustration, it shows up, as a bunch of other things, addiction, right?
Ah.
But the root of
Okay.
it is grief, is unchecked trauma. And through art forms, right? Through storytelling being one of the most ancient art forms, right?
Yes.
So through
Yes. The
simple
griot.
storytelling,
Yes.
I'm able to get people to go deeper into that.
Right. So it sounds to me like these certifications are basically you putting the bona fides on stuff that you've
Yep,
already been doing. It's just like, you know what, I do this anyway, but some people are going to want some sort of legitimacy. Show me your
100%,
paper. So you just, okay,
100%.
here's a plaque on the wall, as we can
Yep.
see behind you. I've been already doing this.
Yeah,
This is just
100%.
the official rubber stamp so you can take me seriously and know that
Yep,
because I know I can do it.
yep,
But so that you know I'm qualified to do it,
yep.
I'll
Yes,
here you
sir.
go. You want to see something in a frame? There you go. And
Yes,
that
sir.
ain't me. I didn't print that up at Kinko's. Just so that
No,
you
sir.
know. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Now you touched on something that is very fascinating. I'd like to get into that a little more. Looking at the source of grief, the fact that it even exists, and the fact that a lot of people don't even realize that they're experiencing it and it manifests itself in other
Mhm.
ways. And look, just going to cut to the chase. Those who are listening to this in audio, which is going to be most people can't see us, disclosure, we are both black gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
And, just real talk in our community, there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of sources of grief. Look, we are just black people in America. I don't want to make this a political rant, but being black in America in and of itself is its own
100%.
trauma.
100%.
We dealing with it. We're not victims. We're victors. Always on the move, on the positive up. But
Yes, sir.
also in our community, there's too much self-inflicted harm and damage. Too many people.
Mhm.
There's too many horrifying things. And
Yep.
how do you process it? And then, of course, especially as black men, is like stiff
Mhm.
upper lip, walk it off. Deal with it. And no
Mhm.
matter how far you box it, it doesn't go away. Like I like to say,
Here we
things
go.
that are repressed, and contents
Talk
under
about it.
pressure are subject to exposure. Exposure.
Yo, brother, that was me. Right at
Okay.
20 years old, I exploded I shot a gun. I shot 9 shots at some people who I knew and loved. Right, tried to kill them. Right, because at age 11, my dad died. Right, suddenly. Right, my dad was my best friend. At age 14, my older sister died suddenly. Right, she was like a second or third best friend. All right, at 16th birthday, I saw one friend kill another friend, and then that's out. That's on top of just growing up in the hood, right? That's on top of, seeing, in the 90s, Rodney King get beat, right? Like on top of, the crack epidemic, right? Walking to school at elementary school and seeing thousands of crack valves and also seeing the white, chalk outline, somebody got killed last night. So on top of all of that I was experiencing in my community and within society, I was also experiencing deep, deep, deep personal trauma, right? And, I tried to talk about it, right? I did therapy for 3 years. Therapists couldn't understand. It was a white woman, two white women, over 3 years, couldn't really help me. My mom, because she had to continue parenting me and my two older sisters.
Right.
And she lost a partner, right? I didn't
Right.
realize it until later that I didn't just lose a dad. She lost a partner. So when
Right.
I wanted to talk about it, she didn't, right? And then when I'm
Right.
crying, my sisters is telling me, stop crying, right? I'm like, are you still
Oh,
crying about that?
right.
Right?
Right.
That
Man,
was
man
last
up. Be
year.
a man.
Yeah, that was
All this
last
kind
year.
of stuff.
Come on. And so I did that, right? So now I'm holding it all in. And so now what do? We get money, we get girls, we get clothes, right? We drink, we drug, right? And we
Right.
think we good
Right.
because we got all
Right.
of those things. But at 20 years old, a small situation, I freaking exploded and ended up going to prison for 3 years. Right. And so everything you said was 100% true. And because of that, I made a commitment to myself that I don't care how uncomfortable people around me are. I don't care how emotional it makes me. I'm never going to suppress or repress and hold in what I'm experiencing. I will share it again, whether through written form, if I got nobody to talk to, right? Thanks for social media. Sometimes you can go on rants like that, right? Where like you don't need
Yes.
somebody to reply. You can just rant if you want.
Yes.
You just got to get it out. And I made that commitment, and I've been able to transform my whole life, and then help other people do the same.
Wow. First of all, I looked at the information you filled out. When you booked this conversation, I asked for a little bit of pre-information, but not too much. I realize, and first of all, I always get so much out of these conversations. Like I say, if I'm the only one that ever listens to it, I am always edified and informed and educated. I am reflecting on how blessed a life that I have. The things that you're talking about and explaining, even though I'm older than you, probably by about a quarter century.
Yep.
I was born in
Yep.
1960. So I grew up in Brooklyn, son of a single mother. Had two other siblings. Then when I was 15, I had a fourth sibling. That's a whole other story in and of itself. It's like, what? But this is stuff, your life experience, that's the kind of stuff I saw on TV. I read in the newspaper. This was a very special episode of. I knew this stuff was out there, but I never directly experienced it or even was in one degree of separation from people who experienced that life. Because my mom was always very conscious. We would always move to different neighborhoods, and I thought, well, that you just on the up, we're moving to a better place because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
You climb the ladder. I didn't realize, like, when we moved to the place that we spent most of my childhood in Brooklyn, was because reefer was coming into the neighborhood. And the kids were starting to openly smoke, kind of like they do now in New York, because it's legal, but it certainly wasn't legal back then. And she was like, no, my kids are not going to be walking past people blowing joints every day. Got to go, whatever it is I got to do. So she always shielded us from all of that stuff. I cannot imagine, first of all, did not grow up with my father because of his personality. My mom had to leave him because he was a philanderer, a liar. Put hands on her for the second time. She was like, oh, hell no, I must go. I was 12 years old before she married my stepfather, amazing man, the father of my youngest brother. He unfortunately passed in the mid-90s due to lung cancer from his cigarette smoking. I cannot imagine having lost my mom before I hit puberty. I cannot imagine the impact of that. And to lose that, and then and my sister, I have two younger brothers from other fathers. My sister is what they call, the fancy word, consanguineous relative, meaning we have the same mother and father. Again, grew up, we're less than 2 years apart. If I lost her before I got out of high school,
Bro, it's traumatizing. And
yeah.
what made it for me with my dad specifically even more traumatizing. My last time seeing him alive was my elementary school graduation. Right, I got in a lot of trouble in elementary school. I got kicked out of school every year since second grade. So second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, kicked out for fighting. Right, my mom would yell, scream. My dad would really try to understand, like, hey boy, what's going on? Like, what is happening? Why are you so angry? Right, why? And I couldn't articulate it. Right. Didn't know. But so I ended up graduating 5th grade, June 28th, 95. All right. Great day. My dad was there, of course, right? He was 100% him and my mom together until he passed. Um, Took me and my friend out to eat afterwards to Sizzler, favorite restaurant. Right. When I look back, I realized that my dad had a big appetite, but that day he barely ate his food. I didn't know though at 11. I'm not paying attention. I'm excited. Ended up dropping us off. He went to work, right? He had a cleaning company, so I'm going to work. The next morning, my mom was taking me to the Port Authority. I was part of Fresh Air Fund, so I used to go to sleepaway camp in Pennsylvania, and I was going every year since 6 years old, right? But this was the first time, literally maybe 3 days there, I was getting homesick. My stomach was hurting. I was throwing up everywhere. I couldn't, I just wanted to come home. And my mother was telling me, "Oh, your dad's busy. Your dad's working." And I'll call my aunt. "Oh, your dad's working." And when I'm calling my dad's office, he's not answering. So I'm like, all right, what's happening? Again, I'm 11, so I don't really know, right, that something is up, but I know I don't feel great. Something is happening, right? Then they end up bringing me back, a few weeks early, beginning of August. And I think like 2 days later, told me my dad passed, right? And it was the most painful moment of my life by far, right? Because it was sudden. I didn't even know he was sick, right? Stomach cancer. And he didn't, the story goes, he had lost so much weight. He didn't want me to, I was his baby boy. He didn't want me to see him like that. Right. So that hurts. I'm grateful last memory is, right, a so-called good one. But like also I was very sad and angry that I wasn't part of that process, because I would have loved to be part, no matter how painful it would have been, to be there at the end of my father's life. Right. So extremely traumatizing. 11, I had to start junior high school 2 weeks later. Man, I got kicked out of school 3 weeks in.
Because you had all this unprocessed. 100%. You're just supposed to what? Just walk it off and snap out and.
Yep.
No way.
Yep.
Wow.
So, and then 3 years later, my sister passes. Right. At 14 years old. All right. So similar, graduating middle school, getting ready for high school. My sister passes. I'm like, holy cow. So you can imagine my teenage years was filled with alcohol. And try to smoke and drink, and numb the pain, and sex, and all of the things to not sit with myself and feel.
And probably thinking, am I cursed? Is this me? And of course, because when you're younger, you are the fault of everything.
Yep.
What did I do that all my loved ones are falling away? Why is this falling on me? Not this is just the random things that happen. I must be a bad person. I must have done something wrong. I must deserve this because my close ones are being taken away from me. And then there's no one you can walk and talk that through. So of course you act out. You don't even understand what the heck is going on with you.
Nope.
Wow. And I mean, I understand the I don't necessarily agree with it, but your dad not wanting you to see him like this. I remember the last time I saw my stepfather. It was about 3 weeks before he passed. The lung cancer had gotten so bad they had to take out one of his lungs, but it was too late. That lung was almost inoperable. And this was a man, God bless him, John Walcott Phillips, a Canadian gentleman. I had an experience when I was 19 years old. I had a college class with my mom. Saturday morning class, it was biology. And this was her second semester at the same college, your college in Queens.
Okay, I know that.
But it was the first time we were in the same class together. Now, the Friday before that, I hung out with a friend of mine, who's still a friend of mine today, Mike. And we did some mescaline that night. So the next Saturday morning, I am still tripping face, and there is no way I'm going to go into the same room with my mother in a because she could be in the front of the room, I could walk in the back, and she would know.
Yep.
So I said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to ditch class." So I ditched class, and then I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to go to Jersey and spend the weekend with my friends, hang out." I was, making the music, which ultimately ended up, I moved there from 23 to 31. And so I decided to go to New Jersey, and I went to New Jersey for 2 weeks before I decided to call anyone in New York and let them know where I was.
Oh, wow.
So my friends were there saying, "Hey, dude, don't you think you should?" And now I'm 19, I'm thinking, nah, I'm good. Because if I know I'm good, right? Don't worry about me. I'm a grown-ass man. So 2 weeks later, I just come strolling into the apartment. "Hey, everybody, what's up?" And you ever see those movies where somebody gets yoked by the collar, picked up
Yep.
off the ground, and
Yep.
true story. That was me. And
Yeah.
all I know is all of a sudden, I am up against a wall. My feet are off the ground. So I am angry. How dare you manhandling me like this? I am kind of amazed, like, oh, snap. My feet ain't touching the ground. And then I look up into my stepfather's face, and the hand that is not holding me up is clenched in a fist.
Mm.
And the only reason he didn't hit me is because that would have been my death. I don't mean metaphorically.
Yeah.
That blow would have killed, because for 2 weeks, what was my mother going through?
Mm.
And he's like, boy, I can't kill this boy because she thought he was dead. So to make him dead is obviously not the thing to do. But boy, and also he knew that if he hit me, he would have never stopped hitting me, and deservedly so. So for this man to see him now, 3 weeks before his death, so weak that they had to strap him down to his hospital bed, because if he tried to get up, he would probably slip and fall and break his hip.
Mm.
And he was in and out from the morphine. And he when he had a lucid moment, he looked, he says, boy, come, turn me loose, Cornell. They tie me down. And it just broke my heart. And I told him I would come back and visit him, but I never did, because I couldn't see that strong man so enfeebled by this disease. So I kind of get from his perspective, him not wanting you, because unfortunately, that as much as I loved him, that's my last living memory of him. And it's not fair, you know, and I lost my mom to 3 bouts of cancer she had. First was breast cancer, second was nasomaxillary cancer from his secondhand smoke when my youngest brother was born, his only son. He was still smoking, but he wisely didn't want to expose the child to the smoke. Unwisely, basically he hotboxed himself and my mom into the bedroom. You know, so she breathed in all of his secondhand smoke in the bedroom, and it wasn't going anywhere. The lung cancer killed him. Then it took out her left sinus and the upper palate of her mouth. 13 years later, that cancer was on a 15-year marker. This was during the pandemic. She was having this cough that wouldn't go away. She was self-medicating because she's twice a cancer survivor and doesn't want to go to the hospital during COVID because she's a cancer survivor. So by the time it was just so bad, my niece saw she was coughing up blood and said, nah, Mom, we're going to emergency care. You got to go. And they found out that it was lung cancer so bad. The reason the cough wouldn't go away was because the cancer in her left, interesting enough, her left lung was so bad it was pretty much occluding all of the function. It spread to her liver, her kidneys, her pancreas. And so seeing our loved ones in a weak state. But then I also understand, see, as much as it hurt me to see him like that, I did see him before he passed.
Yep.
You know, and so for you to just, and it's interesting also that you kind of, your body knew.
Yeah.
Your soul knew. You didn't know, but you were like, why am I? And almost mimicking the symptoms that he was experiencing.
Stomach.
Yes.
Right? Like stomach pains, throwing up, can't sleep. Right? Like, it was so bad. I was so homesick. Like the family that I was with, and they didn't know either. Right? Like they were so hurt for me.
Yeah.
Because it was like, again, I've been going there by myself every summer since 6 years old. I'm 11. Yeah. Right? And this is the first time I'm homesick.
Right. Because it wasn't about being homesick.
No.
You were heart sick.
Yep.
You were soul sick.
Yep. I was feeling my dad's pain. 100%. And I was feeling not just his physical pain, but his spiritual pain, because he knew that he was going.
Yes.
And he knew that he was leaving his children behind.
Yes.
Right? So I felt all of that.
Yes. And this ties back into the work you are now doing with the, the therapeutic art coaching. And so say a little more about that, about the types of people that you work with and what they're experiencing and how this therapeutic coaching can help them process what they're going through.
I mean, all types of people, man. I've worked with young people, like 8, 9, 10, 11. I've worked with teenagers. I've worked with mothers, fathers, right? Black, white, all right? All different types of dynamics, and again, first, the most important thing is my lived experience, right? Being able to understand parent-child, tough dynamics, right? Like I worked with a mother and her son, right? Mother wanted to kill her son, right? Because he wasn't listening. He's getting in trouble. He's doing this and he doesn't have to. And his dad's not involved. And right.
Wow.
So she literally was like, yo, I think I want to kill him. And
Wow.
I gave her the permission to say that, right? Very simple. That truth.
Wow.
I didn't tell her, don't say that. I didn't tell her she shouldn't feel like that. I said, I understand, and that's very valid. She then, after that first conversation, the first initial conversation we had, she wrote a long review saying how that alone was healing. Again, truth.
Yes.
It sets you free. It hurts, but it sets you free. The truth is that if you are feeling that, you need to be able to express that in a safe way. And then, okay, why? Okay, why do you want to kill your son? Okay, all right, let's sit, let's talk. Tell me some stories, right? I guess I always use stories as the first one, right? After storytelling, then we can go to music, then we can go to like maybe drawing or painting, right? We can go to different forms of art. But storytelling, talking, and thinking is first and foremost. But yeah, man, like again, I'm fortunate and grateful to have helped so many people, right? Find comfort in their pain, right? Not being content, but okay, this is where I am, this is what's happening, and then being able to identify how did it get here, right? What happened that led to this moment, to led to this feeling, this experience that you're currently having, and then how do we go through that, right? Because the only way to get through it is to go through it. You can't get through it by beating around the bush, right? By trying to lowball it, by trying to go. No, you got to go straight through, straight ahead.
Yes, like the saying goes, if you find yourself going through hell, keep going.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. All right.
And I just wanted to say, so fascinating about this anecdote that you just shared. She did not want to kill her son. She felt like she wanted to kill her son. But if she repressed it and suppressed it, she might have acted upon that feeling.
100%.
But by saying, first of all, she heard herself saying it out, and I say, hold on a second. What am I even? Did I just say that?
Yep.
And by you not saying, "Oh, sure," no, let it out. And she's like, "Okay, no. What am I feeling? Yep. Why am I feeling that?" And then she can process it. If you don't pop the cork, you can't process what's inside the bottle.
100%. Yes, sir.
So that is just fascinating. And here's the other thing. A lot of people might say, "Oh, what you took a week certification? Was that?" Here's the thing. Look, and again, I know people who are trained therapists, psychologists, and all that, and I have no problem with actual traditional therapy.
Yep.
Sometimes, however, they're too bound and beholden to the methodology that they grew up and learned, and here's the way you're supposed to process a thing, whether you're Freudian or Jungian or Gestaltian or Eric Bernet, transactional. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes people just need to talk. In fact, I have a very good friend that I speak with several times a week, and while I'm not a particularly religious person, I am a spiritual person, and these conversations are like fellowship. And sometimes we have the same conversation over and over again. And it's not therapy, but it's... And I said the last time we spoke, it says, sometimes people need therapists because they don't have someone in their life that can have conversations with, like you and I can have these conversations. We can talk about things in depth. And sometimes really, people don't need to be analyzed. They don't need to be assessed. They just need to be heard. Because I'm 64 now. So I have friends that are in their 40s and their 50s. And I found myself a couple of years ago, it's like people are calling me, like who am I? Like I'm supposed to be some sort of a wisdom. It's like, no. First of all, you've been around the sun almost 65 times. And the thing that I've learned and I've trained, I did a thing about 13 years ago now called Landmark Education.
I know Landmark.
Yes. And one of the things I got out of that was active listening.
Listening, yes, sir.
And I realized, Cornell, they don't call you for anything. They just need someone to shut the fuck up and listen. That's it, bro. See, so in my grief group, right? I've been doing it 3 years now, right? Every Thursday. And the first year we did it, one of my brothers who, attended the group regularly, he's a civil rights attorney, housing attorney, activist, right?
he said something in our brochure, right? When I asked for quotes and reviews, right? So we could start marketing this thing. He said, healing doesn't happen in a silo. It happens in community,
Ooh.
right? So a
Mm.
lot of times,
Mm.
specifically us, right? Black, right? He's Dominican, Black, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, right? Latinos. Our trauma a lot of times is connected to each other's trauma. Our grief, our pain is connected to that of our fellow human, our fellow community members, our fellow
Yes.
family members. And so trying to isolate, right? Trying to isolate YU is like, well, a lot of people can't identify, but they know that it's something, right? And so that's why simple conversation sometimes, right, is so important. Now the difference between having just a friend to listen to you and a therapist is that the friend will listen to you, which it may be great. And I think the majority of us actually just need somebody to listen. We need to actually be able to safely express ourselves. But then there are some of us who actually need a plan of treatment and healing. And that's where the therapist comes into
Yes.
play
Yeah.
because they say,
Thank you.
okay, they're able to pinpoint and say, okay, you have this, right? Where the average person untrained could listen and make it give some advice, but they don't know how to structure that plan to get you from point
Right.
A to point B.
Right. What are we identifying? What has been
Exactly.
exposed? What
Yep.
is the now the process to, because uncovering it and not healing it, okay, there it is. It's like,
Yep.
oh, guess what? There's a fire in your living room. But if
Yep.
you don't have some fire extinguishers and some water hoses, it's, oh
Yep.
well, yeah, there it is. That is
Still fire.
indeed
Yep.
a fire in my living room. Okay, now what do we do?
Yep.
So but if you don't unearth it, if you don't realize, is that smoke?
Mm-hmm.
First you got to figure out where it's coming from, and then
Yep.
you got to fight the fire. Sometimes it's just, oh, I left the stove on, and then
Yep.
okay, turn it off, throw it in the sink, whatever. That might be fine. So again, very very excellent insight. Because here's the thing: a lot of people, they use the term, they talk about talk therapy, they talk about talking, but you just made a very important distinction,
Mm-hmm.
of where and how therapy is necessary. But a lot of what you do sometimes, people need to get to the point of getting to the point of therapy.
So one of my brothers who comes to the group, right, and I'm so grateful because I'm getting emotional. At the end of last year, right, he's been coming for 2 years, 2022 to 2024, regularly every Thursday. He said at the end of last year, last group in 2024, he said that he's probably going to be stepping away from the group because he got what he needed. Right, he's able to talk about. So like within 2 years, he lost both of his grandmothers and his mother.
Wow.
Right, and his cousin and some close friends. Right, back
Oh
in
my
Houston, he
God.
lost a lot of people within 2-3 years. Right, he wasn't able to talk about it without breaking down. He wasn't able to talk about it, period. Right, without being angry and like having all of the anger. Right, connected with his mom and family. But he said, "Yo, I'm able to talk about it now, and I'm able to like cry, not tears of breaking down, but tears of like release, of healing." Right, and yeah, man, like. And he said he's actually now he was completely opposed to therapy. He only came to the group because it was something I was doing and he wanted to support
Okay.
me,
Okay.
right? But as he came, he realized that, okay, and he was very like combative at some points, right?
Yes.
Sometimes very combative with some things, right? Like trying to get him to understand that people pass, the relationship changes. It doesn't end. The dynamic changes, right?
Yes. Yes.
He was completely opposed to that, but now he understands that, right? He said now I think I'm ready to start looking at therapy. Where before it was like therapy, ain't no therapist will do nothing for me, because he did
Yeah.
therapy. He tried therapy when he was younger, right? He's like,
Mm.
ain't no therapist gonna do nothing for me. But by coming to the group, by going through certain things, he said, right now I think I want somebody that I don't know, right? He said, because you can do it though,
Ah.
somebody that I don't know now.
Ah.
I'm ready for
Okay.
that next
Okay.
step in my healing journey.
Wow. That is
And so they can
fascinating.
support each other, right? Like then there are some friends who go to therapy, who the therapist tell them they should find a support group. And then they hit me
Ah.
up like, Ray, you got that group, right? My therapist suggested I come to a group to go deeper,
Mm.
right, into healing and to identify that, okay, people's situations may be different, but you're not alone in your pain. You're not alone in your grief. You're not alone in feeling like you may want to hurt yourself or someone else. That is
Right.
a normal thing. Let's work through it.
Right, right. That's amazing. And you just again another fine distinction. You talk about the fact that we lose our loved ones and the relationship doesn't go away. My friend that I talk to in Wisconsin all the time says the love never dies.
Nope.
And this is my mom. I have this picture of her. It sits on my
Mm,
desk, so I can
nice.
see it every day. And this
Blessings.
is this is a a tchotchke that I made for her. She had a evangelical mission, and it is the from Ephesians, the fruits of the
Okay.
Spirit, love, peace, joy, suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith,
Yep.
meekness, temperance. And she passed February 8th of 2021. And I have it there because my grandmother's gone, my great grandmother's gone. I knew them both very closely, and I love them dearly. But I can't close my eyes and see my grandmother's face. I can feel her love, I can feel her heart, but what her image, I would have to see a picture of her. And so when my mother passed, I decided I never wanted to not remember my mother's face. And it's interesting. We were living together in Laurelton, Queens, until shortly after she passed. My sister was there, my niece and my grandnephew, my niece's son. And after my mom died, things kind of fragmented. My niece moved to New Jersey with her son, I call him my knuckle bunny. I've known him since he was 4. We were like thick as thieves. And we're so similar sometimes, I say to him. But anyway, before I get to that, so I did not see them until the 22nd of last December. So it's been, almost, more than 3 years. My grandnephew was 8 when I last saw him. He's 12 years old now. By the end of this year, he'll be taller than me. He's already taller than his mom. So I finally see him, and I go into his bedroom. And he's, of course, because he's a modern-day kid, he's a digital native. So he's got a workstation. He's got a desktop computer. He's got a laptop next to it for school. He's got, better than me even, he's got a flat-screen TV on the wall on top of it to watch his cable and stuff. And then he reaches over and he pulls like one of those little cheap frames that you get from a discount store. And inside that frame, doesn't fit, it's way too big for it, is this picture. And I had to take a moment to compose myself. I was just like, oh my. Same picture and in the same place, right there under his computer monitor. Crazy. And I looked at my left and says, you sure you're not my son? But because I was kind of concerned because he was very close to her. He was delivered by cesarean section. So my mom was the first family member that held him because my niece was still coming out from the surgery. And she would always talk about how he grabbed her finger with his hand, and they looked each other in the eye, and they had that bond ever since, and very close. And so it was a gathering. My niece has a great home down in New Jersey, and Niece was having and it cooked such a feast that I was surprised at the end that I thought she catered it. She cooked everything that was there.
Nice.
And it was amazing. And I was so glad that I got to say to her how proud I was of her. And I know that she's doing a great job because I talk to my grandnephew all the time. So I know the job that she's doing as a mother because I hear it in him. I always say that you've never met my mother, but you have. Because the best of me is her.
Nice.
And anything praiseworthy in me you see is her light shining through me. I am the man my mother raised me to be. And he is the man his mother is raising him to be. And his sense of humor, his wit, his confidence in self. And it's so amazing. And just the last thing that my mother asked was that the family stay together. And my niece bringing us all together. It's the first time I saw my sister practically since we moved out together. My youngest brother, who lives out Port Jefferson, he came in. My middle brother is in Charleston, South Carolina, so he wasn't able to get up. And ever since then, there's and here's the thing. We love each other, but we weren't really like talking to each other all the time, you know what I mean? Sometimes I talk to my youngest brother once a quarter, my sister, whenever. Now we have a group text, all of our phones together, and we just sort of, and since then we've been communicating with each other on a regular basis, and this is the importance of family, but it really just struck with me that what you said, that the love never dies, and I think a lot of people need to understand that because they think that death is lost, they think the person is gone, but even worse.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying they think that they have to either stop feeling anything,
or
only feel grief and loss.
Yep. And so that goes back to European education and conditioning. Right? One thing that we understand as Africans is that life is eternal, right? It's not just a religious quote, right? That is scientific facts. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, only transferred and transformed. And so basic science tells us that energy, the breath of life, right, is eternal. And so when that breath, when that life essence leaves the body, where does it go? It goes everywhere.
Yes.
including inside of you, right?
Yes.
Especially including
Yes.
inside of you if
Yes.
you are the child or the parent,
Yes.
right? And so this is why, I went from my dad died to transition, right? Language is
Mm.
important. It's a
Yes.
transition, it's a shift, it's an ascension, it's an
Yes.
elevation. Our
Yes.
relationship dynamic changed. Literally, my father became me, right?
Yes.
Right. When I look at it, I am my dad. I am, right? And again, religion, we can go to Christianity, you can go to Islam, is similar, right? Similar
Yes.
tenets, similar teachings, right?
Yes.
I am my father,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so if we could teach our children that. So one thing, right? Real quick. So since then I've lost two more siblings, right?
Oh my God.
My oldest sister died April 16th, 98. My second oldest sister died April 16th, 2016. Same day,
Oh
18
no.
years apart, and they have the same mother, same father, right? And they're back-to-back children. Our father and their mother had two sons first, and then the two girls back-to-back, and so they passed on the same day,
Oh my
18 years
God.
apart. No coincidence. And then my brother passed in 2018,
Oh.
right? And so when my brother passed, my children, got to know him well, and they were sad, and they, saw me crying. And they asked, where's Uncle Anthony? And literally meditating, and it was like, how do you teach young people about quote
Mm.
unquote death or transition? And then I thought about me,
Mm.
like, what would when
Mm.
my dad died when I was 11, what would have made me feel better? Because saying that my dad was with God did not make me feel better, right? So I said, okay, the truth. So I asked him a question, right? Again, the truth could be, framed different ways. So I asked him a question. I said, if you guys could be superheroes, what would your superpower be? I think my son said, jump really high. I think my daughter said, run really fast, right? I said, those are great. I said, what if you could leave your body whenever you want it and become invisible and go everywhere at the same time? He was like, whoa, that would be pretty cool. I said, that's what Uncle Anthony did. He left his body and he's everywhere at the same time, including right here, right now. And he was like,
Mm.
really? And I was like, yeah, like, can you feel him? Can you close your eyes and see him and hear his voice? They was like, yes. I said, so then he's right there.
Yes. Yes.
And so,
There's
like,
this. Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say there's a saying that as long as one person lives that holds you in their memory, you are still alive and you are still
100%.
with the world. And I
So,
think back as you were sharing about transitioning and the difference between the African way of looking at death and passing and then the European way. I remember coming out of the Black Panther movie, the first one. And on the superficial level, you can look at it. Oh, okay, it's just a Marvel superhero movie.
mhm.
But the way they dealt with the being able to go to the other side and speak to your ancestors,
Yeah, yeah,
and that this is this lineage going all the way back to the
yeah.
origin and the tree. And then I remember coming out of the theater, and there was a group of young girls that obviously one of their mother had brought them, and they obviously went to like a school together because you could see they had that vibe, and most of them were young white girls,
Hmm.
but one of them was black, and they all coming out, and they're doing the Wakanda Forever salute.
Mm.
Okay, and since then I see so many Caucasians, Wakanda Forever, and but here's the thing that struck me in the final scene when Killmonger has lost the physical battle
Mhm.
to T'Challa, and they're out there seeing the final sunset of Killmonger's life, and he says, we can heal you. We have the power. He's like, no.
Mhm.
Take this knife out of me and toss my body in the ocean with my ancestors. And I
Yep.
remember sitting watching. I was like, did a mainstream Hollywood movie just make a Middle Passage reference?
Hmm.
And I like looked around. I was like, I was like, y'all slipped that in there.
Hmm.
Okay, my brother. I see what you did. I see what you did. And so as you say, stories.
Hmm.
On the one hand, that's just another superhero movie in the MCU universe. But in a lot of ways, that's a deep story because now
Yeah, it
there are
is.
people who don't even realize they have embodied and imbued
Yep.
that concept, that
100%.
salute, that connection with the ancestors, and
100%.
slipped it in there subconsciously. They don't even realize it. But it has
Hmm.
forever shifted their perception because we are the sum and substance of our stories. I was having a
Hmm.
conversation with some Caucasian friends of mine, and I was saying, if you think about it, one of the changes in race relationships in this country came with the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Because Spencer Tracy back in the 50s was a man's man. He was a guy's guy. And a lot of white people, yeah, that's Spence. That's my dude. You know, he had Katharine Hepburn as his chick on the side. So you know my dude had big dick energy. Come on. So for him to be the father, the white father that ultimately is like, you know what? I guess I got to be okay with this black dude marrying my daughter because he looks at her the way I looked at you.
Mm.
And love is love is love is love is love.
Yes, sir.
And I can't fight that. And then you know that there was some bigots out there that said, I don't know, but if Spence could, because, you know, they're not seeing him as the character. That's Spencer Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, if Spence can be okay with that, I might have to. Same thing with the character of Archie Bunker.
Mm-hmm.
The subtle thing was, he never apologized for who he was.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bigot, straight up and unapologetically so. And so there are people in there that who were like-minded with the character were like, that's right, Archie, give them hell. Tell them so-and-so's where to go.
Mm-hmm.
So when over the course of years he changes, they change with him.
Yep.
Because he's always their avatar. And by telling this story of, okay, and the most profound episode, because, you know, Meathead, you know, his son-in-law who he can't stand, they get locked into a meat locker.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells him the story of Shibuti, that he was so poor that he couldn't even have shoes that match. Now, there's a lot of black folks. You ain't never been so poor, you got to wear one shoe and one boot. That is po. You can't even afford the end of the word, you so po. So he was Shibuti, and then you saw, as the audience, I remember watching that episode real time, and it's like, damn, that's why. This guy is not evil. You just got to, he is just who he is. He couldn't have been anything other than who he was. And you just got to see people as the people that they are. And if we stop trying to find villains, if we learn the story behind the person, not, oh, that's a MAGA hat wearing so-and-so, right? That's a libtard woke, you know, no, this is this person. Who are they? What is their story? And if we just, again, listen, and this is what the work that you're up to into, getting people to talk, getting people to listen, and as you say, getting people to tell their stories to themselves. And amongst each other.
Yep. 100%. And getting people to think, right? Before even talking and listening, getting you to think, getting you to feel, right? Like, you know, there are some people, like one of my brothers, he's been coming to the group for a while. He said he hasn't cried in years. When I've seen him, right? He's I've been working on him. He's a hard brother, man, but he was close to crying a few weeks ago. Right? I seen the tears welling up in his eyes, and then he stopped himself. So the next step is, right, because before he didn't even feel the emotion, period. But now he feels it, but he stops himself.
Yes.
Right? Because he's like, you know, I got to stay focused, you know, got to keep working. You know, the black man trope, got to keep working, got to make it happen.
Yes.
You do. However, you got to feel. Right, the only way to heal is to feel, and so like he's close to crying. Right? I told him this year you're gonna cry, my brother.
And to have that safe space to realize that tears are not unmanly.
Nope.
You know, and because we have this. I mean, if you think about it, how our society: big boys don't cry, stiff upper lip, grin and bear it, walk it off, be a man. And it is no surprise that actuarially. Ask an insurance company, because they keep the numbers and they run the stats, and numbers don't lie. Men die earlier than women. Black men die earlier than white men. Because of all the stuff that we keep inside and we bottle it up. And it is literally dis-ease.
100%.
The difference between illness and wellness is that we are talking about.
Brother, wellness, I don't know what you was going to go, but wellness is the free flow, right, of oxygen and blood, right? Dis-ease is impeding that flow, right? So whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, you are impeding the natural flow of emotion. What is emotion? Energy in motion. It is supposed to flow through you. You are supposed to feel. You're supposed to navigate. When I teach meditation, generally one of the guided things I say, allow your thoughts to be like a butterfly. Allow them to come, allow them to go. Right? Like allow your like come and go, baby. It comes, it does what it needs to do, and then let it go. We hold on to it. And it's tough as black folks, specifically black men, because we don't fully love ourselves, right? We got to beat ourselves up. So we got to hold on to the pain because I got to be angry, because I got to be sad, because I got to be mad. Because if I'm happy, if I'm joyful, if I'm thankful, then something bad's going to happen after that. And I shouldn't be because.
Oh, my God, yes.
And it's like, whoa, again, there's so much to unpack here, my brother. So much to unpack. But ultimately, it comes with just being still. Be still. Be still. Listen to your heartbeat. Analyze, or not even analyze, observe your thoughts.
Yes.
Right? And then let that be the first step. Just be still.
Yes. And always that fear that the other shoe is, I mean, that is so profound, my brother. I can't experience joy because then
brother, one of my good brothers got killed a couple years ago, right? Filmmaker. He did a movie you should check out called what was it? I can't remember what it was called, but it was with Ice-T and Tretch, a few people. I think it was called Equal Standard, right? My man Tahim Bryant, called Equal Standard. Really dope movie. It might be on Amazon Prime or Netflix. Really dope. But he got killed, right? Somebody followed him home, killed him in his going into the parking garage, right? His mother said something. His mother and his children's mother said something at the funeral that was freaking so profound. So he was getting in trouble young, right? He's a little older than me. He was in his 50s, right? His mother said he was getting in trouble young. And she would ask him, he had the talent for writing films. He had the talent, but, like most of us in the hood, he went the other way. And so she asked him, why you keep getting in so much trouble? Why you keep being involved in this stuff when you have this gift? She said he told him this is 20 plus years ago, right? She said, no, even longer than that, right? 30-something, 40 years ago. He said, Mom, I can't be happy because everybody who gets happy, they die. Right? Everybody gets happy, they die. And so, fast forward, he allowed himself to be happy. His baby mother said he spoke to her that morning, right? That morning, he had just flown back home to Queens, to New York from overseas. There was a big film festival. He got some awards over there. He posted the photos of the awards. He flew back. Nas hit him up to come out, celebrate, right? They had a big event in Queensbridge. It was Nas' album, had dropped, went platinum as well. So Nas called him out to celebrate. You see them down there, right, by the little spot in our neighborhood, like a little hangout spot. Everybody's down there smoking and drinking, taking pictures, video. Happiest day of his life, his baby mother said. He got killed that night. Happiest day of his life, that night he got killed.
Yes.
Right? Now, two things, right? That did two things for people. People actualized, right? What he said, they said that they internalized that, well, it must be real. What's real is manifestation.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
If you think something long enough and believe it, it will happen. If you believe that when you get happy, you will die. When you get happy, you will die. Right? If you speak that into existence, that is what will be. And so it's tough to have a thought and be able to shift that thought before it becomes word.
Yes.
Right? But a lot of us, because, some of us are no filter, so I'm going to speak everything I think. It's I get it, but no. You don't want to speak everything you think. You don't even want to think. You don't even want to think everything that you think.
Yes.
So
yes.
So
and a lot of people might think that this is hoodoo, voodoo, wherever, but like I say to people, first of all, as you said earlier, it's all energy.
Yeah.
And law of thermodynamics, energy and matter can neither be created nor destroyed, simply change the form.
Yep.
And as I say to people, you don't have to be spiritual about it. You don't have to be. It's scientific.
Yep.
They can strap something
whether you agree or not, whether you agree, believe it or not, it's happening.
Right. You can put electrodes on your brain, and you can measure your brain activity because thoughts are electromagnetic transmission.
Yes, sir.
That's why you can measure them in an EEG.
Yes, sir.
So that right there, that's not opinion.
Nope.
That's how they can do brain scans.
Yes,
they can do an MRI and they can see the activity, the electromagnetic activity in your brain. So of course it's energy. And we know from high school science that energy running in a current creates a magnetic field, and magnetic field running through a coil creates electricity.
Talk about it.
So of course we are generating energy in our thoughts, in our attitudes. And I used to say, and I still do, that when children and little animals warm up to me, I know that I'm good. go to somebody and says, "Oh, that cat jumps in my lap. Oh, she never likes anybody." And I
You got good
remember
energy.
during my Jersey years, I was in a bad place mentally. And I went to somebody's house that had a small child, and the kid freaked out. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. And I was like, oh, snap. There it is right there. Because kids, they have no guile. They have no filter. They just see reality. We are taught and enculturated and trained to lie to ourselves, to put up blinders, and to pretend we don't see what we see and pretend we see what's not there. But a kid just looks at you and says, "Oh, I don't know, something about you is off."
Yep, absolutely.
And I had to step away. It's like, okay, dude, I got to get my head together because that kid just called me out.
Yep.
You know, because the energy, they just feel the energy, and you come up with it. The kid, oh yeah, they're a little shy, and the kid's like, in fact, real talk. The first of this year, I was at a party with a guy that I know since high school, a bunch of people I know from high school, you know, and friends of those friends, and we're all hanging out together. And one of the people who I knew through the guy who was the host brought his 4.5-year-old daughter. Okay, so we're a bunch of people who went to high school. We're a bunch of 60-year-olds and this 4.5-year-old. And even though these were people I knew, some of whom I hadn't seen at a time, I spent that party talking to the 4.5-year-old. Because she came up to me, and, you know, other people, no disrespect, but like, "How you doing? What's going on?" And I just said, "Oh, okay, hello. Oh, what's your name? Oh, yeah, nice to meet you." Oh, and so she was like, "Okay, this dude is straight up. He sees me, and he gets me, and he sees me as a person. I don't talk down to kids, because a kid is just a young human being.
That's it.
So I talk to them like a person.
As you should.
I was, because it's been a while. I work from home. I in fact, yesterday was the first time I went out in almost 4 days, because it was below freezing. I was like, there's none out there I need that I got to brave 13-degree temperature. I'm not going out there. So I can go for weeks and months at a time, and other than going shopping or going to the bank, I don't see anybody. I don't even leave this apartment. So being there, and it's like, oh wow, a young person, and who felt comfortable enough, and would come up to me and like sort of lean in and you know the things that kids do when they're saying something and they put their hand around their mouth. They're not whispering, but it's just like, you know, and just confiding. And I was like, I feel so blessed and privileged to have this young person feel that comfortable and at ease in my presence. But here's the thing. It was that young person having me feel at comfortable in and at ease in myself, to remind me, right, I'm a human being that loves human beings and loves connecting. And I got out of this place, and I'm talking to a person who is receptive, who sees me. It wasn't that I got her. She got me. And she reminded me who I am. You know. So before we wrap things up, brother, and first of all, thank you so much. And I say this almost to every person I have a conversation with, every guest, that there's so much that there's almost definitely got to be a part 2, because we have just skimmed the surface of what's going on. But I like to keep these things at or around an hour, because, you know, the people don't listen to anything longer than that in the podcast world. But before we go, just any closing thoughts that you have to share with the folks out there in podcast land before we go.
Yeah, man. Love yourself. Love yourself as you are. Right? Like, you are whole, right? Your challenges, your obstacles, the quote unquote flaws that you have, right? Like, all of it is tailor-made for you, right? Like, your dreams are your dreams, your visions are your visions. So your challenges, your obstacles, they are meant to not destroy you, not to block you, but to help you. Understand that you, human being, whether you're black, you're white, rich or poor, you are one with the entirety of the universe. Literally, what your skin is made of, the stars are made of, right? So because you are one with the universe, nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you. Everything is happening for your benefit. The universe only operates on a forward arrow of time. It does not go backwards, no matter how much you want it to, no matter how much you think it does. So the quote unquote step back is actually a step forward. All motion is forward motion. All motion, right? Even the losses, the failures, right? The all of the stuff is moving you closer to your destiny, right? Failure is not opposite of success. It is a part of it. right? Failure is a part of success. And so, like, embrace the failure, embrace the losses, embrace the pain. Know that you can transform and transmute from pain to power. You are an alchemist, right? You were once a thought, figment of somebody's
Yes.
imagination. Then you were an embryo, right? Then you were a fetus. Now you are a human, walking, talking, laughing, joking, screwing, doing all of the things. So, like,
Yes. Yes,
you are
indeed. Yes,
whole. You
indeed.
are whole as
Yes.
you are. Love yourself as you are, and just get into yourself. And the more you get into yourself, the more you love yourself, the more other people can love you, the more you can love others. And then that's when you can really like operate on a higher frequency. And so, like, in order
Yes.
to do that, be still, go
Mm.
within yourself, listen to source energy, right? God, the divine spirit, allow whatever the energy you deem it
Yes.
to be,
Yes.
tune into that energy, tap into your frequency, and like level up, man, and go be great.
Yes,
Real simple.
amazing, amazing. First of all, and I couldn't have had a better sum of what we're about here at the Failure Guy podcast. You know, as you mentioned at the beginning, failure I have as an acronym: first attempts in learning using real experience.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I'd like to close with a quote that you alluded to
Mm.
at the beginning of the podcast. A quote from George Bernard Shaw.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is the true joy in life: being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one, being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy.
Mm.
I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can.
Yes, sir.
I want to be thoroughly used up when I die,
Mm-hmm.
for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations.
Mm.
You know, and you shared that, like, alluded to it beginning. And I was like, yeah. That's, I hear where the brother's
Yeah.
coming from, and I
Yeah.
got to drop the whole quote to people, because that's what I know you knew what you were talking about, but I was
Mm-hmm.
like, folks, you got to hear it, because George Bernard Shaw, famous writer, couldn't have summed it up any better than that. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
read his words rather than coming to my own. And I'm
Yes,
popping
sir.
up on the screen here now for people to see. You can get in touch with Brother Suga Ray, Lashawn Marston, at www.lashawnmarston, LASHAWNMARSTON, LashawnMarston.com. And
Mm-hmm.
you can contact him at info@LashawnMarston.com. Those of you who are watching this on the video, you see that, but I just wanted to spell it again. You know, www.LashawnMarston.com. And you can reach him by email at info@LashawnMarston.com.
Yes,
And
sir.
Brother Suga Ray, I just really want to thank you so very much for launching season 3 of the Failure Guy podcast. Couldn't have had a better episode. This is so amazing. And again, as I say, I'm always so enlightened by this. If nobody else listens to this or gets anything out of it, I have been enlightened and edified, uplifted, and energized. And I thank you so very much. This will not be our last conversation, brother.
Thank you so
Our
much, my
first
brother.
one
I
of
look
that.
forward to it.
Certainly my pleasure. And as I say to those of you out there in podcast land, remember, life is not a competition. Life is a race that you run only with yourself. And the only person you need to compare yourself to is who you were yesterday.
Yes,
And
sir.
as Brother Lashawn said, always moving forward. Failure is just a part of the process. It's only a ability to assess your performance. You can't win the game if you're not on the field.
That's
You know.
it.
And remember, you know, keep running, never quit. And I will see you all next episode